guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula One. So the Saudi Grand Prix has come to a close, and what could be said about that one, really? I thought it was exciting. It had some good moments in there. The mid part of the race was okay. It was like a slow burner, wasn't it? But towards the end of the race, you know, all the top four drivers within less than 10 seconds of each other just didn't quite have that nail-biting finale that we were all expecting, but it was building up to a crescendo that didn't quite happen. But overall, I actually enjoyed the race. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their overall race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points. They're sometimes an offer. Some drivers do something extra special during the race. On the rare occasion, I do award minus points to those drivers who do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Crawl Room standings then, shall we? It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is. Based on how they did this weekend, can you see them going up? Can you see them going down? Are they in for big points, or are they in from a big blasting from me? You'll have to wait and see. There's still a lot, obviously, to play for. We're still very early days in this series, but a pecking order is already emerging. And we'll take a look at the team standings as well, shall we? There on the screen as well for you. The team standings, of course, are added together as per whatever the drivers scored during this episode gets added up or taken away from those team standings. However, I can manipulate them independently and award the teams extra bonus points or take points off, as you can see with RB and Ferrari down there. Ferrari almost back down to 0, and RB then again anywhere near 0 by the end of this series, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, it can all be done independently, as well as what the drivers score together. So without further ado, let's kick things off with the race winner then, shall we? Oscar Piastri. Yes, well done, Oscar. Well done indeed. Securing victory this time around at the Saudi circuit after qualifying himself in P2. Just 1/100th of a second behind Max Verstappen, the pole sitter, but launched it off the line well. Got that inside line into turn 1, and yeah, then Max just decided to drive off the circuit and stay ahead. And yeah, he got himself a 5-second time penalty for that, but that wasn't Oscar's doing. That was all Max's fault. But yeah, Oscar, it was a great start to the race, inside line, got the corner in, and then obviously when Max served his 5-second time penalty, it meant that Oscar came out in front after the pit stops happened, and then that's where he stayed. Max was hunting him down towards the closing stages, just couldn't quite get within DRS of Oscar, but overall, you know, it was still... It was always going to be an Oscar win, I think, at this point. Had they reverted the positions, I mean, obviously it was difficult because the safety car came out quite early, didn't it? But maybe, just maybe, it'd have been a bit more of a closer fight up front had Max relinquished that position immediately and then fought again with Oscar, because obviously he wouldn't have lost 5 seconds at that point. He just lost that position, so it would have been an interesting one to see how that played out, but that's not Oscar's doing, as I said. And Oscar this race has done really well. That overtake round the outside on Charles Leclerc, I mean, that was edgy, wasn't it? That was edgy, but he did it, and that was a good move. Of course, Charles not pitting at that point. Oscar had already pitted, but even so, round the outside there was dust flying everywhere. I thought he was heading for the wall, but he didn't. He secured. That was brave. Best overtake of the race, that. So for Oscar Piastri, it's going to be a perfect 10 from me for him. Really on a roll at the moment, isn't he? He's doing so well. Takes the lead of the championship, first time since Mark Webber in 2010 that an Australian has led the championship. But yeah, it's a perfect 10 from me for him. Yeah, okay, he didn't get pole position, he probably should have done, but that move on Charles Leclerc certainly deserves a bonus point, doesn't it? So yeah, 10-2 Piastri. What a stunning weekend he had. Next up, we come to Max Verstappen, finishing P2 here in the Red Bull. As mentioned, qualified on pole position and didn't get off the line particularly well, and was pipped to the post into turn 1 by Oscar Piastri. He did the job that he always does, though, which is cut the corner and then try and argue about it afterwards. If I was Max, I'd have just let it go and fought another day, but he didn't want to, and then he was put under investigation for it. The only thing I think is a little bit shitty is that, okay, fair enough, Max didn't relinquish the position immediately, but it's the start of the race, the pack's closely gaggled together, and if he's on the outside line, he'll get mugged by loads of other cars, not just Oscar, so I kind of understand why it didn't happen there. But the fact is they didn't offer the chance behind the safety car. The FIA or the stewards didn't say, look, you're not allowed to overtake during the safety car. However, if you feel it's appropriate that you relinquish the position, you are able to do so. And let both teams know, McLaren and Red Bull, that could be a thing. And then Red Bull could have decided from there. Instead, it was put under investigation immediately once the safety car came out. And then immediately after the safety car came in, Max got a 5-second time penalty to not allow Red Bull or Max to make the decision of switching the places and not having a penalty. I thought that was a little bit shitty. I did think that was shitty. But, you know, FIA stewards, we know what they're like anyway. Max this weekend, though, yeah, I think it was a bit shitty. They got the 5 seconds and didn't have the opportunity to relinquish the position. But apart from that, a fairly solid race weekend. Maybe Piastri would have got him anyway. I think he probably would have done, to be fair, but it would certainly been closer had the 5-second time penalty not occurred. Faultless apart from that, though. And for Max, it's 9 points. 9 points to Max. Yeah, I'm not criticising him overly too much because we've seen it before, and there's this whole rule of who has the corner and stuff, and it just gets messy, doesn't it? So it's an interesting one. There was a lot happening in F2 with that as well, weren't there? But either way, Max, 9 points. That's that. Should have known better, really, but I understand why it all went a bit wrong, like it did. But either way, 9 points. I think he's doing a great job with a car that's clearly shite. Finishing in 3rd place, we come to Sha La La. Oh, sacre bleu, Sha La 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 La. What a stunning P3. P3. Fantastic effort by Charles this weekend. There's certainly not much. There was nothing else he could have dragged out of that thing, was there? He did such a great job. Fending off from Lando at the end as well. Lando was closing in, but just didn't quite get within DRS. What a fantastic effort. They're probably my driver of the day, actually, really, thinking about it, to be honest, because Charles, that Ferrari's clearly not the fastest car. It's probably like the 3rd or 4th fastest this weekend. And here he is finishing in 3rd place, ahead of Mercedes, ahead of a McLaren. It's a great effort, isn't it? It's a great effort indeed. Charles this weekend qualified himself P4, was it? And then elevated it to P3 in the end, managing to get past George Russell in the closing stages, who was suffering really badly from tyre wear. So yeah, a stunning effort by Charles. Really, really pleased with that. And it's perfect 10. Perfect 10 for me for Charles. I can't praise him any more than that. Got the maximum out of the weekend that was on offer, and really did just do a stunning job for Ferrari this race. A great effort all round. A perfect 10 to Shalala. Finishing in 4th place, we come to Lando Norris.
To say I only ever competed in one free practice session for Minardi, I'm fondly remembered as the guy who complained that the car had too much grip. No wonder I never participated in an official F1 season again.
And there we have it. There you go. Chinook Nasani of the week to Lando Norris. Oh my God. Good old Channock, eh? Good old Channock. Everyone remembers him, and he only ever took part in one free practice session. What a stunner. Well deserved, well earned Nisani of the week there to Lando Norris. Bottled it, once again binned it, and this is the annoying thing. I said to one of my friends on Friday, I was away for the weekend, and I said to one of my mates, I says, Lando's going to bin it in qualifying. I wish I'd have gone to Ladbrokes and put a fucking bet on that, because he did, didn't he? He absolutely stuffed it in the wall, and he was like, no, he won't. I was like, definitely will. He's going to bin it, because pressure's getting to him, you can already tell. And then he went and off and spanked it in Q3. So, yeah, he has to get an of the week for that. Should have been a front row lockout for McLaren once again, but wasn't. He's starting down there in P10, and then, as always, climbs his way up to P4. He didn't know how to enter or exit the pit lane correctly, driving over lines here, there, and everywhere, and not picking up a penalty for any of that, so there's bullshit as well. And just made the race a lot more difficult. Got final warning for track limits, almost a penalty there. Just drove like a Burke again, and finishes P4 here behind Ferrari that should have been easily behind him. Even with the starting in P10 and all that lot, he should have been able to find a way around Charles Leclerc and get within the DRS zone and overtake him, but he didn't do it. So it should have been a third place as an absolute minimum this weekend. Max, of course, did a really good job with the Red Bull, but it shouldn't have been third as an absolute minimum. He should have been out there fighting for pole position, getting P1 or P2 on the grid, and then should have gone and bloody won the thing. But he didn't. Binned it, damage limitation, almost cost himself more time with all the penalties that he maybe should have had that didn't get. Just a load of crap, really. So yeah, Lando, second consecutive of the week to him, throwing the championship away, and Piastri's going, thank you very much, mate, I'll take that. So yeah, Lando Norris, of the week again, driving like a tit. Finishing in 5th place, we come to George of the Russell. Watch out for that top 5. At no point this season has he qualified outside the top 5 or finished outside the top 5. He's having a great start to his season. Once again, very reminiscent of 2022 when he first joined Mercedes. Was doing a solid job with the equipment he was given. This time around, he's been putting some really impressive performances in. This race, of course, qualified himself in P3, which was a great effort, and the main race itself, here he is finishing in P5, as mentioned, really struggling with tyre life towards the end there, was struggling with tyre management, asking the team, you know, this tyre's got quite a significant groove in it, there's something wrong. The front left, I think he said, wasn't it, or front right, he said that I can see a really degrading patch, and I just want to make sure this car makes it to the end. So, yeah, maybe a setup issue there, a setup adjustment that went wrong potentially to cause that excessive tyre wear on one side. Yeah, George may be overdriving the car a little bit, who knows, but it looked like it was going to be on contention again for a podium. Didn't work out this time around, sadly. After the first round of pit stops, he sort of just lost all his pace and performance, didn't he? And it just sort of went wrong from there. But yeah, overall, George this weekend, once again, could he really be expected to finish much higher than where he did? No, not really. Finishes ahead of his teammate Antonelli again, of course. Yeah, I've given him a solid 8. I think he deserves a solid 8. I don't think he's done anything really wrong this weekend, but just, you know, shame to see him fade away from the podiums, but it looked like it was more a car issue than himself being an issue there. Excessive tyre wear. It's a difficult one to judge, isn't it? But yeah, nonetheless, 8 to George this weekend. Solid performance. Shame it wasn't a podium. But I think, once again, probably got the maximum out of it he could have done. Finishing behind his teammate, we come to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Of course, in the second Mercedes. Antonelli this season so far, everyone's like really buzzing about the fact he's doing well, but yeah, you know, qualifying performances aren't on pace with George at the moment. He's very much just under the radar, isn't it? He's got like half the points that George has already at this point in the season, which isn't fantastic, but again, he's still a rookie, and here he is just finishing 1 place behind him. Well, I always say you can't cross the line together and get the same position, can you? So being 1 place behind your teammate, I consider that matching. So yeah, okay, qualifying wasn't as good. The race performance, here he is finishing 1 place behind, but I think he was something like nearly 20 seconds behind his teammate come the checkered flag, and George obviously, as we know, had those tyre issues as well. So Kimi Antonelli still very much on a steep learning curve at the moment. At least he's solid and consistent. We've seen a couple of wobbly races where he hasn't secured any points, but this time around, P6, his teammates finishing P5. Can't really say much better than that. Qualifying wasn't as good as his teammate. Race pace overall wasn't as good as his teammate. And for that reason, it's going to be 6.5. 6.5 to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Not as impressive as his teammate. I only gave him 8, so he doesn't deserve that. And there you go. 6.5 to Kimi Antonelli. 7th place, we come to Lewis Hamilton in the second of the Ferraris. Nowhere near the pace of his teammate this weekend, all race weekend long. Nowhere near him in qualifying, nowhere near him in the race. Finishing behind, like I say, Kimi Antonelli, who was 15, 20 seconds behind his teammate George. So yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. A struggling weekend. Avoiding of the week, you know, by this much because there's more deserving drivers, but yeah, I don't think it was a great performance by Lewis. Not gelling with the car well at all, is he's trying to find how to drive cars again apparently now, which is just a concern, isn't it? But yeah, it's 4 points to Lewis. This is not what I expected from Lewis going into Ferrari. I'm not going to say he was ever going to be winning world championships again. You know, I think it had been the fever dream that would happen, definitely. But, yeah, I was expecting him to have a rejuvenated form, shall we say. You know, Mercedes, of course, knowing all last year that he was leaving before he actually left, he was going to get left out of meetings and things, not get the updates on the car as quickly as George, if at all, you know. So we knew that 2024 was going to be a tough year for Lewis in that car. I thought coming out fighting with the Ferrari team, we saw that glimmer of hope, didn't we, in China in that sprint where he took victory there. But apart from that, we've not seen anything else. So he's only been comfortable in one race so far, and it was a shortened sprint race. So we'll wait and see what happens with Lewis, but at the moment he's just a bit disappointed. I expected more from him. I expected him to be closer to Charles than he is. And yeah, it's just a bit of a concern, really. So yeah, 4 to Lewis. I hope things start to pick up for Miami, because I want to see him do well. Securing 8th place, we come to Carlos Sainz, smooth operator, smooth operator. He did it. He did it. I think that's the first time I've sang it all season long, because Carlos Sainz has certainly not been smooth this season, but he was smooth today, smooth this weekend in, of course, Saudi Arabia. Well done to Carlos Sainz, qualifying himself P8, finishing in P8, I believe it was. He certainly finished in P8, I know that much anyway. Qualifying, got into Q3, that's all that really matters, that's all that counts for the Williams squad. Got himself in those positions to be fighting for points. Avoided the first lap dramas, of course, that we will talk about shortly when we come to those drivers. And just kept himself in a solid position. Played a great team game with his teammate, of course, Alex Albon towards the closing stages. They had the two feisty RBs catching up to the back of them. So Sainz slowed down, allowed Albon to get within his DRS. So then down the straights, Hadjar and Lawson had no answer for him and were unable to overtake the Williams duo. So they played a great team game. They've had a great performance this weekend. Sainz into Q3, finishes inside the points. You see who's ahead of him. Could he be expected to finish ahead of any of the top 7 there mentioned? Absolutely not in the Williams, no. But he put himself in the best possible position for that car and secures the team 4 points, and make sure Alex holds on to an additional 2 for the team as well, because he comes next, of course. So for Carlos Sainz this weekend, great performance all round. Can't really fault a thing. It's a perfect 10. Perfect 10 for me for Carlos Sainz this weekend. What a great effort. Stunning job overall. Fantastic performance, really. Really deserved it. Really happy to see him finally get a race at the end of this triple header. That little bit of boost of confidence as we go into a couple of weeks break now before we go to Miami. At least he's just got them points on the board. He's scored them himself. He's not had to wait for disqualifications to pick up a point. You know, and he just had a really strong weekend overall. So yeah, great effort, Carlos Sainz. Well done to you. 10 points. As already mentioned, finishing behind his teammate Carlos Sainz, it is Alex Albon, the second of the Williams. A double points finish for the Williams squad. A fantastic effort once again. Alex qualified himself in P11, didn't quite get into Q3. Should have done, really, should have done. But P11 is a good starting position to fight for the points. Again, what happened there is there was drama ahead. He avoided it, and then he secured himself into P9, and that is where he stayed. Of course, helped out by his teammates slowing down, so he was able to get within the DRS. But that's team strategy, that's team tactics. We saw it a lot with Haas last year, with Magnussen and Hulkenberg. You've got to do what you've got to do, haven't you? And Alex this time around was grateful for the help and support that he got, because he'd have been a sitting duck without DRS down that straight. Hadjar would have got him, then Lawson would have got him. They were on a different strategy where the RBs pitted later, didn't they? So they were on fresher tyres towards the end of the race. Yeah, Alex this weekend, great performance. I'm going to have to knock him a point off for the qualifying not being as good as his teammate Sainz, but look in the race, he was matching his teammate, just finishing 1 position behind him. You can't say fairer than that. So on par this weekend with Sainz, I would say. Just a shame qualifying wasn't into that Q3, but I'm not going to hold it too much against him. So Albon continues his strong form this season. Okay, we had a bit of a wobble last race out, but even so, he was still relatively okay there. Certainly not bordering on any of the weeks just yet. But yeah, Alex Albon certainly come back fighting this season. Good effort so far. Matched his teammate this weekend for the most part and secured a good all of points for the Williams duo. 9 to Albon. That's what he's getting from me. Well done, Alex. Securing the final points paying position, we come to the first of the Visa Cash at Max Tampon RB. Buy one, get one free. Don't forget your AlphaTauri, your Toro Rosso, your Minardi. It is, of course, Isaac Hadji. Haji Hizakajar. Haji Hizakajar. There you go. It is Isaac Hajar, of course. David Croft. Once you start getting it right, I'll start saying his name properly as well, you tit. But Isaac Hajar this weekend, what a fantastic effort by him. Qualifying P14, not the best. Not the best, admittedly. Out-qualified by his teammate by a couple of positions. But then in the race, here he is securing a points-paying position. Great strategy by the RB squad to pit later. Lose the time on track, but then gain it back on fresher tyres towards the end. Had a lovely charge through the field, good overtake on Alonso. And just fought well, just really fought well. A mature drive, and again, it was a mature drive because Isaac, you'd have probably said from F2 a season or so ago, that he'd have just lunged it up the inside of Albon in sheer frustration, probably taken himself out, taken Albon out. But he just stayed behind him, was hopeful that an opportunity would arise where Sainz would drop Alex out of the DRS and then have a go and things like that, or Alex make a wide moment and lose time and then try and get him down the straight. He was always waiting patiently for that moment to arrive. The moment didn't arrive, but he kept his head cool and secured a point for the RB squad, which is crucial, really. There should be on a lot more points, that RB squad, and it's not the driver's fault. It's sheer strategy in those first two races especially that cost them dearly. So yeah, every point's crucial. It's a shame he didn't manage to get round one of the Williams, but I don't hold that against him at all. It's 9 points for me for Isaac Hajar this weekend. A solid effort overall. Great job. Shame he was out-qualified by his teammate in qualifying. I think there was another couple of positions in that, and maybe with those couple of positions better off, he could have maybe nabbed a Williams there. But as it was, don't want to hold too much against him. Well done, Isaac. 9 points to you. Just outside the points, we come to Fernando Alonso in the first of the Aston Martins. Oh, dear. Oh, dear me. I mean, he didn't even finish 11th, did he? He crossed the line 12th. But, Alonso, still no points. Still no points this season. There's only him and 3 others not scored any points, and the other 3 are rookies, are there? Doing Bartlett and Lawson. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Shit. So, yeah, Alonso, the other rookie. No points so far this season. Finishing here in P11, crossing line P12, but Lawson had a 10-second time penalty. So, yeah, finishing here P11. The only thing that really talk about Alonso's race was nearly getting killed by Bartlett. Bartlett had just let a Haas through. He was trying to retake the normal racing line, and he didn't realise that Alonso was charging down the outside with DRS wide open to try and get round him as well. So almost a very tight moment. Saw each other at the last minute and left no more than a car's width. It was very close, wasn't it, to being a scary aeroplane accident there. That'd have been a big shunt had that gone wrong. But for Alonso, that was really the only thing we saw of him. But impressive to get an Aston Martin close to the points. I think that's a fair assessment. Into Q2 again, probably the best it can do at the moment. Qualified P13, was it? So, yeah, sort of in and around the mix for points, but just didn't look into anything in the end. And typical that a 10-second time penalty for a car ahead only then nets in P11, just to be that one place away from where it actually matters. So, yeah, Fernando Alonso, huge shame this weekend for him, but I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he did what he could with the equipment given. And yeah, ending out a tough start to the season. This is probably the toughest start since, 2015 with Honda, with the Honda engines in. That were quite terrible. Maybe 2016, I don't know. But yeah, somewhere around that era. It was probably the worst start since then for Alonso to a championship campaign. Where's it all gone wrong? 8th, though. 8th to Alonso. I don't think there's much more he could have done, to be honest, with the car he was given. But he did something with it, and that's that. Finishing 12th place, as already mentioned, crossing the line in P11, finishing here in P12 due to a 10-second time penalty, is Liam Lawson, the second of the RB Vaxi Tampons, don't forget your Tallery, Alpha, whatever, is it Kajur. But yeah, Liam Lawson out-qualified his teammate, P12, you think, right, okay, you're in the mix there. Then there was the bumping and boring ahead, so that sort of would have got him into the fringe of the points, and then he just sort of faded away. I don't think he was put on the best strategy by the RB squad. He was the one that pitted early, so lost out towards the end in terms of tyre life. If anyone's picking up a point, it's Liam, isn't it? He got that 10-second time penalty for forcing another car off track. Did anyone actually see what that was? I didn't. I didn't see what that one was, so probably have to have a look at that, see if I can find any onboard footage of what actually happened there, because I don't know why he got that 10-second time penalty. Unusual. But yeah, Liam Lawson, middle row 5 from me for him. A very average performance once again, outraced by his teammate come the checkered flag, despite that 5-second time penalty. It's not like Lawson was 10th, then dropped to 12th. You know, it wasn't his point to ever pick up, really. He was always the nearly man. So yeah, Liam Lawson, middle row 5 to him, having a tricky start just like Alonso really. Expected much more of him, but Hadjar scored points in that car and Tsunoda scored points in that car. Liam Lawson so far scored nil points in that RB car. Very unfortunate. 5-2, Liam Lawson. Unlucky for some P13, we come to Ollie Behrman in the first of the Haas's. Difficult one this weekend for the Haas duo, sadly. Just didn't seem to have the pace overall, which is just how it goes sometimes, doesn't it? Q2 elimination for Behrman, wasn't it? Or was he out in Q1? No, maybe not. Maybe he did get into Q2, but even if he was down at the bottom end of it, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, and then sort of here, P13, couldn't really do much about it. Saw some good overtakes from him, though, but that was as he was only coming through the field on fresher tyres against those that had started on the hard tyre, or those that had pitted on lap 1 to go onto the hard tyre, like the likes of Doohan and Bortoletto. But even so, he had some good practice at overtaking, got some good moves in, but P13 was all he could really muster, and I don't think that was the fault of Behrman this weekend. I think that was very much the fault of the car. Solid 7 to Behrman this weekend for me, for him. Outqualified his teammate, outraced his teammate. The car wasn't capable for points this weekend, and finishes here, P13. Solid 7. Solid 7, Behrman. Wasn't your day today. Finishing behind his teammate, of course, we come to Esti Bestie Ocon. Esti Bestie to you. Ain't like Esti Bestie Ocon. Yeah, finishing behind his teammate. I do remember now I've talked about Esti Bestie and just sang his woeful tune. That they were instructed to swap positions, the Haas's, because Ollie Behrman was on fresher tyres towards the end. So maybe, just maybe, you know, we've seen a different side of Ocon, obeying team orders. Oh, fucking hell, how blessed are we? But yeah, it wasn't for points, was it, in P14 here for Ocon. I'm going to pretty much mirror exactly what I said about Behrman. The car didn't have the pace this weekend, however, he should have maybe got a little bit more out of it. Ocon was 19th, was he? He was down there in Q1 elimination, I know. And then in the race itself, of course, was P13. Asked to switch positions, not that it mattered in the end. But yeah, overall for Ocon this weekend, it's 6. 6 to Ocon. If you're out-qualified and outraced by your lesser experienced teammate, then it's not great, is it? I know it was team orders at the end, but yeah, you're out-qualified by a handful of positions that you shouldn't have been. If it was a Q2 car, it should have got into Q2. It didn't. It was down at the back row. And yeah, overall, just not mega impressive, but again, not fully to blame Ocon this weekend. That Haas car just didn't have the pace. A solid 6 to Esti Bestie. 15th place, we come to Nico Hulkenberg. Oh, needed that. Nico Hulkenberg this weekend, what could be said? Unfortunately for him, the stake kicked me up the arse. Sauber car didn't have the pace once again. Qualified himself P17, P18, somewhere around there, wasn't it? In the race itself, though, looked to be encouraging, and here he is finishing ahead of a couple of cars. It's about as positive as it gets at the moment, isn't it, unfortunately, for Nico? But yeah, finished ahead of his teammate, finished ahead of a couple of cars. I don't think there's much more you can say other than that. I mean, he's ahead of an Alpine, an Aston Martin as well, so it's something, isn't it? It's something. I really do just feel sorry for Hulkenberg at the moment, because you know he's doing what he can with the equipment given. But even then, it's not good enough for anything close to points. We're going to need another crazy race like Australia to see him secure the points. So yeah, Nico Hulkenberg, it's going to be 7.5 for me for him. Sort of in a league of their own at the moment in terms of shitness for the state cars. Of course, other drivers can have bad qualifying days and the Sauber can sneak into Q2. But then when it comes to the main races itself, if they finish ahead of anyone, it's quite impressive. So yeah, 7.5 to Nico Hulkenberg this time around for me, for him. I think he's doing a solid job with the equipment he's given. It's just very difficult to judge how well he's actually doing in that car. We know it's difficult, though. We know it's difficult, and he's doing the maximum he can. 7.5 to Nico. Then we come to Lance Stroll in the second of the Aston Martins. After such a strong performance and such a strong start to his season, here he is mithering down at the back once again, miles away from any points, places or positions anywhere close to him. It's a shame, isn't it? Where did it all go wrong? Another Q1 elimination for him as well, of course. Now taking the record away from Kevin Magnussen of the most Q1 eliminations in Formula 1 history. And he can say that he can blame the car and all that lot, and he can say, yeah, stick a McLaren driver in our cars and we'd be out in Q1 a lot. There were times in 23 and even 22 where that car was certainly not a Q1 elimination car, and he was getting eliminated every single time. So yes, a lot of it is attributed to your own shitness, I'm afraid, Stroll. Yeah, particularly this time around, yeah, probably a Q1 elimination was fair. But Alonso was P13 there and got into Q2. You were down at the back again, like a fucking moron. So yeah, it's not all your fault. I appreciate that, Lance, but I think 95% of those Q1 eliminations you shouldn't have been involved in. But you were, because you're shit. So, Lance Stroll gets 3 points from me for this weekend overall. Oh, it was harsh that you gave him of the week last time. He did whatever he could. What a blessed hero he is. Yeah, I got some shit for that, didn't I? Got some shit for giving Lance Stroll an of the week last time out. Fucking hell. You're thankful I didn't give him another one right now, but I've got other people to give it to, haven't I? So, yeah, Lance Stroll, 3. Thank me for him, Lance. You've massively dropped off the radar now to the point where you're not even matching Alonso, and you were beating him to start with. What happened? What's happened? Then we come to the first of the Alpines in Jack Doohan. Yeah, don't really know what to say about Jack Doohan this weekend other than a poor performance. Out in Q1, no pace at all. Safety car came out, decided to pit on the first lap and put a set of hard tyres on. Then drove round on those hard tyres until he was already down at the back of the grid, and then pitted again. And then just finished ahead of Bartlett of the finishers. Great. What a fantastic effort. Not sure where Alpine were doing with that strategy. I'm not sure what Jack Doohan was doing this weekend. But he's thankful that he's not being given an of the week. However, an of the week is just about the only thing he avoids, because he only gets 2 from me. There was nothing there this weekend really to prove he was capable of anything. That was very, very tricky. Very unfortunate. His teammate in Q3, stunning effort inside that top 10. Didn't go well for him, we know that. But yeah, Jack Doohan, 2. That was very poor indeed. Last of the runners, we come to Gabriele Bortoleto in the second of the Stake Kick Me Up the Arse Saubers. A very tricky weekend for Bortoleto. Qualified dead last for the first time in his history in Formula 1. Not bad, says in a shit car, to be honest, that this is the first time we've actually seen him down here in P20. And then finishing last of the runners. As we know, he had that near-miss moment with Alonso. That could have been very nasty. And just a bit off the pace compared to his teammate Hulkenberg this weekend. Didn't match him in qualifying, didn't outrace him at any point. Just really struggled to get on top of the car. So for that reason, it's 4.5 for Bortoleto from me for him. Yeah, I think it was less than average performance, even in a car that is certainly less than average. It could have been ahead of Doohan, certainly a 2-stopper in the race. He could have been ahead of Stroll potentially as well. So there was a couple of positions he could have maybe been higher up in. But having said that, it doesn't really matter when you're fighting down here, but it's just worth noting that, yeah, against his teammate this weekend, he lost out. 4.5 to Gabriele Bortoleto. First of the DNFers then, in the race, we come to Yuki Tsunoda.
My F1 career lasted all of 45 minutes before I inevitably spun the car and got stuck in the gravel. The worst thing is, I'd forgotten how to remove the steering to get out of the car, so the car was lifted away with me still in it. Oh dear.
And there we have it. Chinook Nissani of the week to Yuki Tsunoda for what was an unfortunate tangle with Pierre Gasly. Yeah, the qualifying itself, it was in Q3. I don't think there's much more he can be expected to do in that Red Bull, to be honest. We know Max outdrives that car, and it is particularly built around his style of driving. But yeah, he just needed a good weekend. He got a good qualifying position there and just needed to finish with inside the top 6. Just have a nice, easy drive. But then it all went wrong, didn't it, on turn 4, lap 1? Yeah, tricky. I think what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I think about it now. We'll move on to the next driver, and then we'll discuss it as a whole. I think that sounds like a good plan, doesn't it? So next up, we come to Pierre Gasly.
Come the end of my only ever F1 session, I was 12.9 seconds off the fastest time. Some people say that Josh in his Chevrolet Matiz could have lapped faster. I disagree.
And there we have it, of course, Chanuk Nisani of the week to Pierre Gasly. That's right, they're both getting it. So we're talking about Pierre Gasly, we're talking about Yuki Tsunoda collectively here because they were both involved in the same incident. And I didn't want to tell you everything in it about Tsunoda because then there'd be nothing to discuss about Gasly, would there? But of course, Gasly had a more impressive qualifying, certainly in that Alpine, getting it where he did. Flavio was very ambitious on the grid, wasn't he? Talking to Martin Brundle and going, where do you expect to finish? He's like P6, like great. And then in the race, it didn't happen at all, did it? Out in turn 4. So the whole thing is they're both getting an of the week because there was both more that the drivers could have done to stay in that race. Both of them could have done more to avoid that collision. There was all that runoff area for Pierre Gasly. Pierre knew that Tsunoda was there on the inside of him the whole time through that corner because he was trying to overtake him. Tsunoda knew that Gasly was there on his outside the whole time through that manoeuvre because he saw him. It's not difficult to know where those two cars were. There was no car in the blind spot at any point. Both drivers knew where each other were, and neither of them decided to do anything about avoiding that incident. It was clumsy. It was very clumsy. That's the word that I would describe the accident as. And there was just no need for it. Lap 1, turn 4, Gasly could have gone off the runoff area, even if it meant, of course, he lost out to Tsunoda and had to feather in behind him. He's still in the race, isn't it? Tsunoda could have braked a little bit more and let Gasly go around him. Again, doesn't have to. It's, but Gasly was taking that corner like Tsunoda was going to vanish. So yeah, Tsunoda could have come off the throttle a little bit sooner. Gasly could have used the escape road, and both drivers would have still been in the race at this point. So instead, they needlessly took themselves out of it. It was a racing incident. You would call it as that. But it's annoying in my mind when both drivers could have done more to avoid it and both of them chose not to because it's my corner, it's mine, it's mine. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Live to fight another day, guys. You can't win a race on lap 1, but you can certainly lose it. And you both lost it this time. And both drivers needed some big results. Tsunoda just needed a solid race under his belt to secure some more points for the team. And Gasly needed some more points for the Alpine squad after an impressive qualifying. So for neither of them just to think, this one's not my fight right now. Let me just back out of it. Let's fight another day. Let's stay on the road. Let's stay inside the points. For the fact that both of their mindset in that moment was, no, you're not having that position. It was a little bit silly by the both of them. So they've both been awarded Chinook Designer of the Week, and deservingly so, I feel. Yeah, I felt it was worth talking about them collectively there because it made more sense. But yes, both of them could have done more to avoid an incident that they decided not to do, and for that reason they are both penalised with Chanuk Nisani of the Week. So everything, guys, those were the runners and riders of the Crawl Room from Saudi Arabia. Let me know down in the comment section, did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated standings with the scores I have just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. Now have a look and see where your favourite driver is. Are you impressed with how well they did this weekend? Are you disappointed with the scores I've given them? I think I've been very fair throughout the most part this weekend. I think I've done what I can. Scored the points that I felt were right, and maybe I got one or two a little bit wrong, but that's life, isn't it? Tough shit. Yeah, I don't think there's much more I could do there, to be honest. I think I've done what I can with the knowledge I have got from the sports, but yeah, once again, Lando Norris tumbling down that championship order though, isn't he? What's he doing? What is he doing? Let's take a look at the team standings as well then, shall we? They're also on the screen for you. As you know, I can independently manipulate these as well to plus or minus scores from them, as well as whatever the drivers collectively score gets added to their total. I've left them alone. I've not played with them this time around. I don't think there was any team that was under-delivering or over-delivering the expectations that I felt that deserved bonus points, etc. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it as it is for now, but as always I will manipulate it at any point I see fit. But yeah, that's that really. That is that. A massive thanks as always goes out to Dan Bartlett, of course, formerly of Mushy Gaming, for providing me with the scoreboard that you saw on your screen, for the driver icons in the corner of your screen, and for the intro as well, of course. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. And who can forget Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for providing me with all of the weeks that you don't necessarily know what's coming, but you know you're going to love them. You just know it. Yes, thank you very much to those guys, as always, for the continued support with the series. It really does mean a lot. It would certainly be a lot more shitter around here without those two. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you all in a couple of weeks' time for the Miami Grand Prix. Looking forward to that one. See how well they go and see how much the price of an hot dog is this time around. It was $900, wasn't it, last year for a hot dog with fries. So maybe with inflation and all these tariffs and things that are being imposed in the world, maybe that hot dog price has just gone up that little bit more. We'll wait and see. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and as always, much love.